Hey everyone, welcome to the CSI Secret Store community call. Today is Jan 5th, 2023. Happy New Year. This call falls under the CNCF Code of Conduct. It's recorded and published on YouTube. If you already haven't added yourself to the attendee list, please go ahead and do it. I can help moderate the meeting today, and then we can write down notes as we progress. The agenda is pretty small. I think the first item was added by Nileg, but he's not on the call yet. So we can probably go to the second one and then see if Nileg joins by then. Okay. So for the second one, basically, me, Tommy, and Rita are the maintainers for the repo today, so which means we can cut tags, and only we have been the ones to cut releases, and then we've been trying to get more folks to help out with the release if me and Tommy are not available. So for that, I think I opened this PR to add Nilik and Xander to the maintainers list. So once this is done, they will basically have access to create tags on the GitHub repo, and then also be able to milestone some of the issues that we have. And I opened it for lazy consensus. Once, if all the maintainers think it's LGTM, then we can merge it. But if there are any concerns that you have, please feel free to post on the issue, and then we can go from there. But I just wanted to bring it up for attention. Yeah. Okay. I think Nilek is there. Nilek, do you want to talk about the issue that you added?
Yep.
Oh,
Do
sorry.
you all mind if I just ask a question about the last topic? So this is broad and kind of general. As part of SIGAUT, I've been thinking about how we, have like long-term health of our community and maintainers. We're a small set of people. So I totally understand, trying to build up maintainers and others that can do things like releases and just help in general. Do we have anything that's a bit more formal for how someone, if they were interested, they would do the work needed to become a maintainer? And I say this while having no idea because I've kind of just let y'all do your thing, and it seems to be working fine. So I don't feel the need to meddle in something that's working fine.
It's something worth exploring. I can say, as a member of the Kubernetes Code of Conduct Committee, this has been one of the things that we've been encountering in the last 6 months more than anything else, is folks feeling frustrated by SIGs in particular, lacking like actual official ladders for people to move up. And so I think going forward, that actually maybe it is a good idea to like have a solid, oh, it looks like we do have that here. Yeah, it's a good thing to have that like official, just because people's feelings get hurt when it isn't, and then it comes to the Code of Conduct Committee.
Right, and like for example, Xander, you and like all currently work at Microsoft, so it makes it so that like Secret CSI Store is basically 80% Microsoft folks and like 20% Google folks, right? And I understand that we are the folks that get paid to work on this, and thus we are likely to be in the list of maintainers. Like I'm not asking for like crazy levels of diversity here, but I think it's particularly hard for someone that doesn't work at one of the big sort of FANG companies to contribute to these things and like sort of become a part of this community. So it's just something that's on my mind in general, like both for like SIGAUT and our like sub projects, but just sort of in general too, because it's maybe it's a little bit more difficult with the SIGAUT stuff because we tend to have like all sorts of security considerations. So it's not just like code quality and testing. It's like did you break something in some horribly subtle way that we didn't notice? So, but yeah, we don't need to necessarily dwell on this too much, but I'm glad you guys have at least some guidelines. So that way it's not just, oh, I like Nilek, so I'm going to make him a maintainer. And I'm not saying that's what's happening, by the way. I'm just making an example.
Yeah.
But you don't like me?
No, I do like you. That's not that's not a prerequisite.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we started this doc, so I'd added this initially, taking some of the stuff that was there for Kubernetes reviewers and approvers, but we also toned it down because that's not the level of PR reviews and code that we required you to be on board as maintainers. But that is one thing. And then for the maintenance of the project, I think we've been doing lazy consensus. And then we've tried to get not just the maintainers of the project, but also like other supported providers that we call out today. We usually have at least one of them from every provider show up on the call. So we basically show all these to them and make sure that they are all on board with us doing this. So like once after this call, I will still post this issue on GitHub, on Slack, and then tag one from each provider and then make sure that they are also okay with us adding this. But other than that, if you want to formalize this a little bit more, we can definitely do that too.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna so I've been having conversations with Jordan and others on the SIGAUTH leadership around this topic. So I think what my hope is to if we get something a little bit more specific nailed down for the overall SIG, then we can use that as guidance. And I'm totally fine if you guys are like the global guidance is strict, and y'all want to be more relaxed because maybe the bar is a little less high or whatever however you want to define it. So we'll see how that goes. I just started these conversations end of last year with some folks, so it's still just sort of noodling around right now.
Sounds good. Okay. Nilek, do you want to talk about this one that you added?
Yes. So I think this is sort of bubbling up against. I think a few folks have started asking this again. So this is basically, I mean, if you can a little bit scroll down, right? He has given an example. No, just a little bit up where you have that JSON. Right here. So basically, what people want is if we have a JSON object in the key vault as a secret, then they want to extract it and then mount it as an individual secret. And we already have a PR for it, I believe. So I just wanted to sort of bubble it again so that we can sort of revisit that PR, which I keep forgetting the name. Sorry, Dan. Yeah, so I think we should revisit and make it to the take it to the completion basically.
Yeah, Dane's not on the call. We can follow up with him, but I think apart from that, Mo also added a couple of comments to it. I think maybe doing it with Cell. We can check if Dane is still interested in working on the PR that he has opened. But if not, then I think we can prioritize this in one of the upcoming releases and investigate what Mo mentioned here, if that's a feasible option, and then see what we can do.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that's it. I just wanted to sort of surface this back so that we can, this will be in our back of mind.
Yeah, I think we also on the Google provider got more comments on this lately too about having this functionality, and I think it's possible to go into the driver instead of just all the individual providers. But I'm not against individual providers implementing it, right? themselves, but I think it would help kind of all of the providers if we had this kind of like mutation layer between fetching the secret and presenting it in the file system.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think Mo also suggested the same thing. Like it would be better if we have at the driver level. and I think the what Dane started with is exactly the same. So like I think this is I think this is at the provider levels. Sorry, driver level.
Yeah, he started it as a big PR to like fetch all contents and do a couple of other things, but I think we had mentioned a good
Yeah.
start is just to do this first.
Correct. Yeah, I think the part 2 of this PR is the templating stuff, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. But let me ping Dane and see if he still has time to work on this. If not, then we can see what we do.
Sure. Are we waiting on him or he waiting on all of us?
No, I think he
Reviews.
needed some initial reviews. I think Tommy has looked at it, and then I also ran through the code with Dane once on a call. So I think just waiting for Dane to respond to the comments and see if he
I
needs
see.
any help with it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. I think those are the only 2 items we had on the agenda. Let's see the CI. Okay, I think the CI is mostly been stable over the holidays as well. So that is good. The image scan was failing at the time of the release because of vulnerability in the kubectl binary that we use in driver CRDs, but we are not scanning the binary, so I think that is also green now. And in terms of issue triage, so I think this one is specifically for the Azure Arc provider. And I think Nilek, you said with this, you are working with this user already for RKE.
Yes, so yeah, that's true. So I think for RKE, I mean, we hadn't tested it before. So my first step is to sort of set up an environment and test it. So I got the sort of instructions for how to set it up from our internal folks. So we'll do it, but it should be in the provider, like Azure provider, not
Right, that's what I was getting at. So, okay.
And I think we already have it over there, if I'm not wrong. I think we already have one in the provider. Let me see real quick. No, I don't think we have it. I saw this one in the driver.
Okay, so I posted it there, and then we can have them open it there.
Yep. Oh, maybe you can also put like we're already looking into it so that there won't be, won't feel abandoned, I guess.
No, I thought if you're already working with them, then you are.
I mean, nothing apart from the issue. I mean, I don't have any direct contact, I guess.
I think there is. So this one I opened at the time of the release because the kubectl binary we updated to 0.26, but that one still has this new CVE, and once we have a patched version, we can update that and then re-enable the image scan on the binaries as well. This one was, I think, specific to the Vault provider. I have been working with this person on Slack, where they said the mount is not working fine. It's an empty file, but secret sync is working. But that is not possible because we use the value from the mount for secret sync. So it's not possible for the second one to work without the first one. And I think it might just be some issue with their cluster. So I'm already working with this person on Slack. And if there are any updates, I'll post here so we can close out later. But this one is with the Snap, the cluster. So I've seen this one. Forcibly yeah, to this charger. Come on. Yeah, this one, I think that this issue comes up in different ways, not just for CSI, but for other add-ons as well. Like I think I had a summary issue before where if a workload needs to use the CSI driver and it gets created before CSI driver is installed, then it keeps getting volume mount failed. But that code path self-heals because kubelet keeps retrying the volume mount. And then with the unmount also, I think there is a self-heal option because if a pod is stuck in terminating state, kubelet tries to unmount it over time. But I don't know why they said this one was stuck for a few hours. And it never self-healed according to them. They had to delete the node altogether. But this is nothing specific to our driver. This is just how kubelet does things.
It says in the error message there that the driver could not be found in the list of registered CSI drivers. It's like the final part of the teardown method. Is that like that the like daemon set pods are being killed before all of the workload pods, and so the workloads can't be deleted because the daemon set is already deleted? Is it like?
Yeah, so he says the new CSI driver pod wanted to come up but couldn't because the node was full. So I think they basically rescheduled all the pods on the node. And then they also say because the CSI driver pod has a higher priority, it tried to evict other pods and try to put itself. So like other pods with lower priority tried to get evicted, but those pods with lower priority were using the CSI driver. So for them to terminate, basically the volume unmount request has to succeed. But there is no CSI driver to process the volume unmount. But if the CSI driver pod came up, so I think in this case, it could never come up because all the pods were still stuck in terminating and the CSI pod never got scheduled.
I guess it's that there isn't really like a graph of the interrelationships between the like running pods on a node. So like the scheduler doesn't know that pod A depends on pod B kind of.
Right. Yeah. And this was something that I had also, I think me and Xander had gone to a SIG-Node call to talk about it because there was a gap which mentioned having priorities in terms of saying like, hey, these are critical add-on pods. So you mark a node ready only when those add-on pods are running. Just so that you can ensure workloads are not scheduled before these pods are running. And then I think SIG-Node was receptive to that. Like the cap got closed because there was not a lot of folks to work on it, but they were receptive to it. They said if we add our use case and have more conversations with them, they would be open to trying to implement that care.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, but I can respond to this issue after the call. And then also tag the KEP that Signode had. Oh yeah, this was the issue I think came out of the Slack thread. So this particular user, so we're using Klog today, and then this particular user wanted to see the log level also as part of the log. So if they're using JSON format, they wanted the log level also to show up there, so that they can filter specific logs. And then they also wanted to know if it's an error log, information log, and stuff like that, right? And I think Moa had engaged with them on the Slack thread and mentioned Pinniped uses like a version, it's called plog, and then maybe we can use that. And we had recommended the user to create an issue. So I think this is one thing we can evaluate and then see if we want to do this, use plog or something similar for the CSI driver, just so that we can get around the limitations that Klog has.
Yeah, so for some context, plog is just a layer on top of klog that uses Zap for the structured logging. But so it does a bunch of like terrible hacks basically to make klog behave, usually just around startup of the process. So like nothing like continuous, it's just getting a bunch of global state to behave in a specific way. And then it presents you with this interface and it gives you a global implementation of it. So if you just want to do logging and you don't care, you just use that. But it also gives you a fully mockable implementation. So if you do want to have like test assertions or anything about your logs, like because the logs are in some for some definition critical to your feature, you can also do that. So this makes it nice to have basically whatever approach that you want, and it supports all of like the sort of nesting and stuff like with values, with names, all those things that you would want with like a nice logging library. And like the tests assert like the exact bytes that are going to get logged. So you can assert that at runtime, the logs will look in the way that you expect them to look. So it, yeah, so like that one there, I think tests the non-global one. So you can, it purposely has some of the sort of the lines kind of stubbed out, whereas there's a separate test that tests the global logger, and like it's global, so it's actually hitting the real sync and everything. But I had problems in Pinniped where we like would want our logs to look like a certain way because it's a security product, and then the production implementation just happened to look off, and you'd be like, oh, there's like no way to notice. But yeah, so this includes like level, timestamps, the caller, all the way down to the specific method that they were calling, whatever message you want. So it's like I basically like spent like 2 weeks building this dumb thing. Like I was really frustrated by it, but like I did it. It's done. Like if you do this, like you would probably never have a need from a log thing and go. But it is just like an internal package to the Pinniped repo. So you just probably have to copy it out. It's not really I mean, we could put it somewhere shared, but at the end of the day, you're still kind of copying it out.
Yeah, I think if you have consensus on this one, then we can definitely do that. Like it'll make the experience a lot more better. And we can prioritize into this one in the next milestone. I think the other issues all have been triaged, and then I think we've been responding to the customer on that, to the user on it. And then in terms of pull requests, I think Tommy, you open this one. Is this one just to remove the token generation code?
Yeah, I was just playing around with like, because I think we still have a little bit of work to do to fully get off of our token generation and onto using the kubelet provided tokens. Because everything now supports the required republish. And so I was trying to see what was needed there, but I haven't picked it up in a while.
Okay.
Do you already have an implementation of it that works?
Yeah, but I mean, I think on the very high level, so I didn't muck with the token generation part, but at least what I had done was simplify the controller so that we can do node publish even though we are called for the same pod over and over again. So if it's already mounted, we just say it's mounted, not error out. And then the second thing was also once we move to requires republish, we can stop using that standalone controller to like watch for changes. So I think I had included that change too. And then I think I'd done a demo of this maybe like 6-7 months back, but I haven't cleaned this up to open a PR. But I can see what is in your PR, and then if it's part 1 with the token generation code, then I can open this as a part 2 PR.
Yeah, I just wanted to see like when we ripped out all of that stuff, what all like there's a lot that can be deleted. Like I think the entire controller, if we are in a world where everything is using requires republish, right? We can rip out, I think, a full controller, and we can remove a bunch of permissions that right, like that the CSI driver can act as any service account in the cluster. We can remove that. So like, I was just trying to see what was needed to do the full delete. But I'm not quite sure if we're ready to do the full delete or if there needs to be like an intermediate step. But I was, just investigating that because I think all supported versions of Kubernetes have all of the features in like GA that we need now.
Yeah, but I think in terms of both, like one is basically passing the token. So I think all supported releases already have it as part of the node publish. And then the second one is the requires republish is also available in every release now.
I'm not sure if a user has to do something specific to use the requires republish though. So we may have it working, but there may be like little to no users actually using that code path on the syncing, is my guess. Yeah,
only if they do rotation, they need this, and then it would just be part of the CSI driver YAML. So it was added in 120, and it was beta in 121. So now it should be GA in all the supported releases, 22 onwards.
Right, but someone would need to know to add like the extra field to the CSI driver to enable requires republish, right? Like we don't.
Right. Yeah, if they install it with Helm, we would automatically do it. But if they don't do that, or if they install with our YAMLs, then we would do it. But if they don't do that,
Okay. So it sounds like they may actually be like, there may be a good number that are exercising the requires republish code paths then.
Yeah, and then this also makes one of that behavior more consistent that I had opened an issue for, where if they update the secret provider class, they want to update the Kubernetes secret with the newer value. I think with requires republish, we can handle that better because every time we get called, we basically go and update it with the latest contents, which is nice. Like I think it makes the behavior more consistent. But I think we can prioritize this for the next milestone, the 1.4.
Yeah, I think it would be good to get some movement in the next release about that. But I haven't looked at the failures yet. So
yeah, okay, sounds good. And then this one, I am working with the cloud provider, so with Alibaba Cloud Provider on Slack. So they reached out to me because they wanted to set up credentials. So they have opened a PR and test infra, and I'm working on this with them. I think once we enable this test, it's what we have done before. Basically, once the tests are green for the provider, we'll go do a code review of their provider code. And if everything looks good, I think we can add them as a supported provider for the driver. Yeah, and then the third one is Dane, so I'll also reach out to Dane today. Okay, yeah, I think we triaged issues, PRs. Anything else anyone wants to talk about before we drop off? No? Okay, so that was it for the community call. Thanks to everyone for joining. The next call will be in 2 weeks on Jan 19th. So see you all then.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye bye. Thank you.